Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. It's Cynicalex, and today we have the third sneak peek for the latest update to do with Infinity War, the big one that's coming also around the time of the 3rd year anniversary. So people are getting excited. The hype meter is slowly building up, and we've finally seen the image for the first potential uniform for the Black Order, and we can see here from a Twitter post and a Mobirum post. I'm not going to link the Mobirum post in the video. I'm going to actually talk through it and show you guys directly because there's a lot of text to go through, but I'll put up the Twitter post. You can see here that you have the new Proxima outfit, which very closely resembles her appearance in the movie, and then you have the accompanying text. There is nowhere in space that you can hide from what's coming. He will send his children to find you. Him referring to, or he referring to, Thanos. And then of course his children or his generals, Corvus, Proxima, Supergiant, not in the movie, Ebony Maw, and Cull Obsidian or Black Dwarf. So this is very cool. We're going to be getting more uniforms by the text underneath, which says costumes inspired by Marvel Infinity War or Marvel movies. So the plural there is indicative, and it wouldn't really make sense to give Proxima uniform and nobody else. So I think it would be really cool if, like I mentioned before when I speculated and I referenced the 1 year anniversary that introduced the World Boss game mode and introduced the tier 2s, that now we're introducing tier 3s, now we're reintroducing the world bosses. If we have a split 2-part update, the first part of the update would be Proxima, Corvus, and Black Dwarf or Cull Obsidian getting their uniforms. And then the second part of the update would be Thanos and Ebony and maybe even Supergiant, who knows, getting their uniforms. But there's a lot more to unpack than just a uniform. But you should definitely start saving Black Antimatter, Chaos Nornstones, because those are going to be used for sure for Proxima's new digs. And I have to say, just from an art point of view, that they nailed it. I mean, if that's one thing that we know Netmarble is always going to be tremendous at and accurate and just so detailed, it is with the appearance of characters, and they did not disappoint us with this one. In addition to that, we got a substantial amount of additional information on Mobirum, so we definitely have to unpack that. There's a lot of potentially hype news coming out of all of this text, but I want to go through it a little bit slowly, and I want to give you my thoughts on it and then hear your thoughts in the comments. So keep your eyes peeled, I guess, and your ears sharp, and let me know how you interpret these. I really wish that they would be more clear about their hints, but I understand that they might not be finalized for some of these ideas, so that's why they're being vague. But it is kind of in between. I'm optimistic, but I'm also kind of worried. So anyways, we have new updates on World Boss and World Boss Ultimate. So it appears as though Netmarble is going to shake up dramatically both the existing World Boss and existing World Boss Ultimate game modes. So from the sounds of it, as a summary, I think they're going to try to fuse both of them. I think that they find it redundant, and I agree that it's redundant, that we potentially fight Thanos in World Boss and then also again in World Boss Ultimate on a different day. Or for example, today it's Ebony Maw, and so we'd be fighting Ebony Maw in World Boss Ultimate, and then if you got unlucky, Ebony Maw would also be your World Boss or World Boss Beginner stage. She'd be fighting him multiple times per day, which is just corny and bad. So it is possible that we're going to have just the World Boss Ultimate stages for the Black Order and Infinity Thanos, and then we're going to have the other World Boss stages being Cable, Scarlet Witch, Apocalypse, and Quicksilver. But that's just my opinion. But they are saying you can now see 10 World Boss stages laid out all together. So if you do the math, there are currently more than 10 World Bosses altogether. So something's going to have to give. Someone's going to have to leave. Probably going to be the original Thanos to just have the Infinity Thanos mode, which I think is reasonable. No need having 2 Thanoses anymore. The old format was designed for 1 World Boss on each day. So Proxima Monday, Corvus on Wednesday, Black Dwarf on Tuesday, etc. And that's why they added 2 Thanoses, so they could do Saturday and Sunday. Now it's really not necessary anymore. So that's a cool thing to think about. They might be fusing those 2 game modes, but that's kind of more of a quality of life change. It's not really going to have a big impact on the way we play the game or the characters that we use to play the game. So that's just a small piece of the puzzle. But now we have some more information on the World Boss Challenge info. I'm not going to read this all, but it's basically saying that they're going to be making some changes to the world bosses. They don't necessarily sound like they're getting harder, but there's going to be some additional information that's recorded. So I think they're going for something similar to the World Boss Ultimate, where it tracks how fast you clear the stage. Now, right now, this is only for bragging rights. It doesn't impact your score, or it doesn't impact your rewards that you get. It's just to show people that you can do it faster than other people. And the main issue with this one, aside from not providing any additional rewards for being in the top 100, is that it is plagued with cheaters, characters and players who have no business being at the top. Right now it seems like there aren't any, which is fantastic, but every once in a while you'll be searching through this list and you'll see just a ridiculous team that has no business. I'm pretty sure this guy right here has no business being here. These characters have no chance of clearing this quickly. So I'm not actually 100% sure about that, but I think so for him. And you can go through and find other ones. Anyways, I don't want to accuse specific players, but you'll know them when you see them. But that's going to be important a little bit later on. But basically, what they're going to be doing, we're not really sure, but they're going to be introducing something called raid levels, and that got a lot of people excited. A lot of people in the live chat on Twitch were starting to, lose their minds. But it doesn't sound as good as it should. Now, before I read it, in my mind, a raid level is some sort of difficult boss, it's some sort of challenging content. And it's a raid because multiple players or multiple characters are required to take down this one giant or super powerful boss. So Infinity War is kind of like a raid battle because you need all of the Avengers plus the Wakandans plus the Guardians plus all these other people just to fight Thanos. His generals are difficult too, but it's 6 against, what, 40, 50 characters? So that's kind of like a raid. It doesn't sound like that's what they're doing in this game, so I do want to warn or caution people from assuming a more grandiose idea or explanation or interpretation of the word raid. I'm not sure that's what Netmarble is going for, and that's where I wish they would be more explicit, but we're going to have to make do with agents can reach a higher raid level based on their history battling world bosses. So this sounds like you'll be able to reach a higher raid level depending on how quickly and how many times, and potentially with what characters. I don't know what the criteria will be, but based on certain criteria, you will be able to upgrade your raid level. I don't know what that means, but then they also say the higher the agent's raid level, the higher the boosts the agent will receive in dealing with the world bosses. So that makes it sound like the raid level is not something that you do, but it's rather just something that gets tracked and progresses in the background while you're killing and doing multiple world boss attempts, and then it makes it easier to do subsequent world boss attempts by giving you buffs. It's kind of unclear. It sounds a little bit like the world boss clear effects that we currently have. It sounds like they're trying to recreate these effects and tie them into clearing world bosses specifically a number of times. It's unclear whether these effects are going to just be for world boss or if they're going to be global effects applied to your account in all content or parts of content, because as it is now, the world boss clear effects do apply in certain game modes and not in other ones. So we're gonna have to wait and see, but it doesn't sound like new content at all, which I don't really like. I do really like the idea of a raid level, but that has to be the content. If the raid level is just something you click on that shows you a list of all the things that you've done and then makes it easier for you to clear world boss, I don't really care. Additionally, again, the boosts, you're gonna get boosts to help you deal with world bosses. World bosses are a joke. Once you develop a couple of key characters, a few tier 2s, you can one-shot world bosses pretty easily. It's definitely not difficult or high-end content in this game. Alliance Battle Extreme is way harder than World Boss. Shadowland is way harder than World Boss. Conquest is way harder than World Boss. There's so many game modes that overshadow World Boss that I'm not really sure what's going on here. If they're going to buff World Boss, okay, then it makes sense. But if it's just going to turn into how fast I can clear this with Jean Grey to get my raid level up, that's going to be exceedingly boring. So I really hope that there's something that ties into using specific characters, or that there's some mechanic for inviting your alliance members, or there's some sort of cooperative mode so that you do it with other people. that makes the experience more enjoyable, makes it more like a joint raid, and justifies the increase in difficulty. Because if they, if they just copy the formula that they've done for World Boss Ultimate, no one is going to like the raid levels. Okay, all they did for World Boss Ultimate is it's very simple. They introduced a few interesting mechanics for each of the bosses, and I will admit some of these mechanics are interesting, forcing you to use elemental characters, forcing you to use physical characters, or characters with lots of ignore dodge, forcing you to use this or that. It's interesting, but to be frank, Jean Grey and Cable can solo all of these bosses, so needing 2 characters to mash out 6 different bosses is really not ideal. You're not really being creative enough when characters can solve the problem of your bosses with 2 out of 157 characters. At minimum, it should take 6 different characters to beat 6 different bosses. But I digress. Additionally, all they did for the increasing phase difficulties, they did add a couple of additional effects, but it ultimately just boils down to a DPS check. And what a DPS check means is the boss has an exceedingly high amount of HP, so it goes from like 2 million to, I don't know, 6 million, and you only have a certain amount of time to beat the boss. So can you do enough damage in the allotted time? And that's it. There's no other difficult mechanics, because characters nowadays, heroes that we have in Marvel Future Fight, have so much health. They revive, they have guard hits, they have invincibility, immunity, iframes. It's so hard to die that it's not even about dying. It's about timing your damage proc and doing enough damage, and that's it. So if that's their idea of raid levels, then they are in for a rude reaction from the community, and I will be disappointed. However, if they have something else in mind, if they have something challenging in a fun way like Shadowland, if they have something that really tests your skill and ability to play and not just spam CTPs and iframes, I'm all for it. If they do something cooperative with your alliance members or with people in your friends list that you can invite them, I would love that. If they bring back co-op with the line chat, I would also really enjoy that. We do need a lot more opportunity to play with other people in the game. The game feels too isolating and too single player at the moment. Additionally, they talk about World Boss Ultimate. So they say that it's possible that world bosses will be carrying the tier 3 materials, or something related to the tier 3 protocol. Now that is both good and bad. It's good because it'll give us an incentive to play World Boss Ultimate to get tier 3 mats, materials, akin to Black Antimatter and Chaos Nordstones. It's bad because if that's the only thing they introduce to tie to tier 3 materials, there's just nothing to do but grind. There's nothing to do but play World Boss Ultimate and get those materials, and then they'll inevitably have sales for real money or crystals where you can buy more of those materials. And that's just kind of a repeat, a copy-paste repeat of the tier 2 materials with World Boss, which are Chaos Nordstones and Black Antimatter. And that's just that none of this really screams content to me. This is all just ways to make things easier for the player, and to just, I mean, if they were gonna make these materials for tier 3 tied to World Boss Ultimate, why did they introduce World Boss Ultimate so long ago? It almost seems like an afterthought. They don't know where else to put the tier 3 materials. They don't want to make a new game mode, so they're just gonna throw it in World Boss Ultimate and say, hey, have fun. We slapped the uniform on Proxima. She's 10% more difficult. She has 2 new moves, and you know, the yellow circles turn purple or something like that. If that's really all the effort that they're going to put into the update, I'm going to be disappointed, and it's going to be kind of a bad scenario and a bad taste in my mouth. But there's a good chance that they're doing something spectacular, and I just can't see the full picture. The frustrating thing, or the thing that makes me kind of apprehensive, being a cynical person from the start, or kind of at the beginning, is that we just don't know what they mean by a lot of these things. It's quite vague, and hopefully the tier 3 process is not a repeat of the tier 2 process, because we don't need 157 new ways to click rank up and to just collect the materials and watch the stats go up. We need something new, we need something fresh, something exciting, something that makes us want to play with these characters individually. I need 157 reasons why. Why should I play with Black Dwarf? Why should I play with Proxima? Why should I play with Magneto and Magic and Rhino and Ironheart and Shuri and Sin and Angela. I need those reasons. And if it's just to collect Black Antimatter version 2.0 and Chaos Nordstones version 2.0, it's going to feel a bit of like a letdown, basically. But we're going to have to wait and see what's in store and what they have for us. So those are just my thoughts and my speculation. I'm erring a little bit on the cautious and a bit non-optimistic side, but I have to say at the end of the day, I am super excited and I want this update to be very good. I just am hoping to see something that I've never seen before from Netmarble and for Future Fight. So let me know what you guys think of Proxima's uniform, which looks fantastic. Let me know what your interpretation is of the Tier 3 tied to World Boss Ultimate, the changing of World Boss and World Boss Ultimate, and the so-called raid level. I really wish Netmarble would clarify that a little bit more for us, or at least clarify it for me personally, and then I can clarify it for you guys on the channel, but here we are. Subscribe if you enjoy the content and you want to support me. Hit the bell if you don't want to miss any of my content. And of course, if you like what you see, I hope to see you again tomorrow. Take care.